Hello, welcome. My name is Andrew Saylor, and these are my video submissions for the CPPS Level 1 certification course. I want to thank Mr. DeFranco and Mr. Smith for putting together an awesome course, and hope that these video submissions help me meet the criteria of becoming a Level 1 CPPS coach. I'm with my brother, Eric. He is a former college rugby player, and I will be taking him through the barbell deadlift, the barbell squat, the barbell bench press, some standard upper and lower mobility drills, and the 10-yard sprint. But before we get into any of that, I need to assess his breathing and bracing patterns to make sure that he can adequately and safely load these proper movement patterns. So before I can take Eric through the bench, the squat, the deadlift, the 10-yard sprint, I want to make sure that he's breathing adequately and breathing to his full potential of his diaphragm here. So first things first is I'm going to have you take your hand on your chest and one hand on your diaphragm. And we're going to take 5 big deep breaths in and 5 deep breaths out. So go ahead, just how you normally would. Okay. So as you can see here, a lot more of his chest is rising than his diaphragm. So right now his diaphragm is down regulated, where he's not getting as much oxygen to his inner core as he could be. So his posture is going to get inhibited. He's going to develop upper cross syndrome. He could also develop a lot more of lower cross syndrome here. So these next few steps are going to help me take him through where he's going to be able to use the full potential of his inner core, such as his transverse abdominis, such as his multifidus back here, such as his rib cage out here. And we're also going to make sure that he can get his rib cage more in line with his spine along with his pelvic floor. The first step in reestablishing proper breathing technique and proper alignment is to have him start on the ground. So this is going to take gravity out of the equation, where having him standing up, gravity is always acting upon us. So this is going to help him keep his head, his shoulders, his rib cage, and his pelvic floor more stable. So what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to put your hand on your chest, hand on your stomach. We want to make sure that his chin is properly tucked in to make sure that his head is in line with his shoulders. Good. We want to make sure that his lower back is properly flat too. And what I'm going to have you focus on, Eric, is I want you to take a big deep breath, but focus on the hand that's actually on your diaphragm here. So we're going to take a few deep breaths, so go right ahead. Good. So as you can see, he's focusing more on getting his big breath through his diaphragm here and not having his chest rise through here. So the next step is be able to teach him how to get more of a wave effect going from his stomach all the way up through his chest. So I want you to take a big deep breath here and then redirect it back up through your chest. Go ahead. Good. Full big deep breath in and full big deep breath out too. Good. Really force it out. Good. That's it. Give me 2 more. Good, 1 more. So one of the things that when we establish proper breathing technique is to establish circumferential expansion, 3D breathing. So what I'm going to have do now is I'm going to take both my hands here. They're going to be both on your obliques here. And I want you to really try to, when you take a big deep breath in, to push down against my fingers and to push out against my thumbs. So give me 5 big deep breaths. Good. Good. See? So right now I'm getting pressure into my fingers when he's breathing in. So it's signaling to me that he's really pushing out in his obliques. So he's getting much more of his diaphragm and pelvic floor to engage in his breathing. Good. Give me 1 more. Good. Solid. Good. Okay. So another way to test to make sure that he's using the full potential of his diaphragm and proper breathing is the rib hook technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 fingers, I'm going to stick them inside his ribs here. When I ask him to take a big deep breath in and out, if he's pushing my fingers out of his ribs, it will display to me that he's engaging much more of his diaphragm and getting way more oxygen into his diaphragm here. So I'm going to take my fingers, I'm going to stuck them in here. Okay, go ahead. Relax. Because when you breathe in, or when you're breathing in, you're still coming up through your chest here. Like it's not coming up through here. So when I breathe in, like when you breathe in, you want to have it direct out here, and that will push the ribs out.
Okay.
So it's like you're just trying.
So I'm sucking in your fingers a little bit more and then pushing them out.
So when you breathe in, your diaphragm expands and it pushes my fingers out in general. So like, it's not like you're trying to forcibly.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to force it.
Oh no, you don't want to force. Yeah, you're not forcing. So he's still got a little bit more of a chest breathing motion in here. So this would be something that we would continue to work on as we learn how to correct his proper breathing, where if he was fully expanding his diaphragm more, my fingers would gradually slide out. But right now, we still need to kind of work more on expanding 3D through his obliques and through his inner core right here too. Another way to get him in more of a relaxed state is to have his feet come together and just let his knees just slowly drift out. Good. That will put his low back in more of a preferred, almost like even position with his rib cage too. Now I want to see how this position does when I do the rib hook technique now. Okay. So right through here. So it is a little bit better, and there is some improvement where he is getting more of a push out through his anterior core. However, this is something that we'll still continue to build upon while I take him through his proper breathing assessment. One way to make sure that he's getting the full circumferential expansion of diaphragmatic breathing is to have him flip over onto his stomach and have him practice what's called crocodile breathing. So I want to make sure that his head is in proper alignment with his spine. His palms are facing up, so his shoulders are in proper external rotation here. And gravity is just going to help us be able to get more into a stable alignment with his pelvis, with his spine, and everywhere else. So what I'm going to have you do is, if he's adequately breathing through his anterior core and just getting everything else in a 3D-like sense, he'll be able to slowly lift himself off the ground, and his QL muscles back here will be able to expand as well. So go right ahead, give me 3 big deep breaths. Good. So as you can see here, my hand is rising. He's getting a push off the ground because he is focusing more of his breathing through his diaphragm here. His QL back here is expanding a bit, and which is causing my hands to rise. But this is showing me that he's getting proper 3D breathing through his core. Give me one more. Good. All right, very nice. Good step would be for me to get my client or Eric into a quadruped position. So I'll make sure that he's set position first in his shoulders. So good. His chin is in line. And I'm gonna ask you now, Eric, to sit back into your heels as far as you can. Good. And now I want you to take a big, deep breath. Good. So if he's still forcing the diaphragmatic breathing through his anterior core and everywhere else here, he'll be able to raise off of his quads upward. And this will allow me to help him get pressure into his back too. As you can see, he does have some hip restrictions and he's lacking a little bit of mobility in his hips, but that'll be later addressed in a different video. So give me one more. Good. Okay.
Go.
Another way to help get pressure into his lower back while 3D breathing is to have Eric grab a cage. And what he's going to do is he's going to take a big deep breath in through his diaphragm, and as he exhales, he's going to go into a nice deep squat. So breathe in through your diaphragm. Good. And as you forcefully exhale, good. Keep going as low as you can. Good. So from down there, take another big deep breath through your diaphragm and breathe out forcefully again. This will allow him to learn what's like to drive pressure into his lower back. It's okay if his lower back does go into flexion like this, but it was just another way to cue circumferential expansion through a proper movement pattern. So we went through the breathing assessment when he's in a more stable environment. Now we're going to go through the breathing assessment when he's in an unstable environment. So I'm going to have Eric get into a dead bug position, so go right ahead. Good, he's going to swoop. Make sure his shoulders are externally rotated, his legs are in a proper bent position. He has his pelvic floor in line with his ribs, so we want to make sure that his back is staying nice and flat. Good. And now we want to still make sure that he's breathing through his diaphragm and expanding his diaphragm right here. So go ahead, give me 3 big deep breaths. Good. Good, make sure you also get the obliques here too, so go ahead. Good. Give me 2 more. Good, now 1 more. Good, you can relax. So he's definitely getting through his anterior core. However, his obliques do need a little bit of work in that whole the expansion part. So that'd be something that we would need to address as I continue to train him going forward. Okay, so now that we went through breathing in an unstable environment, now we're going to go through breathing in an unstable environment, but having extremities in motion. Now that we're getting extremities in motion, now we're going to learn how to properly brace our core and keep everything in a stable position. So what I'm going to ask you to do, you'll get into that dead bug position again. Good. Toes up. Good. Bend. Arms straight up. So keep your head down. Chin down too. Good. Pelvis still stays up towards the ribs. So when you breathe in and expand your diaphragm, you're going to brace as hard as you can to help keep alignment here as you move your arms and legs. So he's going to go arm, arm, leg, leg, resetting the position every single time, locking his core in. So go ahead, lock it in, tight, good. One arm goes back, up, exhale. Good, reset position, go ahead. Lock the core, good. Exhale, good. Now the legs. Lock, good. That's it, and the other leg. Expand, lock the core, set position. Good. Relax. So by making sure that he is bracing properly while having extremities in motion, now we can look to add on tension in this next step. Relax. Good. So now that we went through extremities in motion with proper bracing technique, now we're going to go through bracing with extremities in motion with core and lat activation with band tension. So he's going to get into that dead bug position again with his feet. Good. Toes are up. Good. So his arms are going to be straight up. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to pull against his band. He has to make sure that he's keeping his lats locked and his core locked while he's going through his lower extremities in motion. So I'm going to pull against his band. Hold position. Good. Take a big deep breath in. Brace. Good. And now go lower all the way out. Keep that low back nice and flat. Keep the pelvic floor tucked towards the ribs. Low back stays nice and neutral. Good. One more time per leg. Keep that in a 90 position. Good. That's it. One more. Lock it in. Good.
Good.
Now that we went through breathing in restricted environments, now we're going to learn how to properly breathe and brace in motion. So what we're going to have Eric do is he's going to have one hand on his chest and one hand on his diaphragm. So he's going to take one step for an inhale and then one step through an exhale. So breathe in while you take one step through your diaphragm and take one step as you exhale. And you'll repeat that process. Breathe in, brace, then exhale. And one more time, one per step, one breath, one step for an inhale, and one step for an exhale. So we'll progress now from one step for inhale, exhale to 2 steps for inhale, exhale. So go ahead, 1, 2. 1, 2. Turn yourself around, you can walk back. So again, really exaggerate the big deep breath in. Really try to get this to expand and push out so like this doesn't rise up first. So go ahead. Take your time too, nice and slow. Good. So now the next progression would be to have them do 4 steps for an inhale and 4 steps for an exhale. So go ahead. Good, really try to push up against that stomach. Good. 4 to the exhale, good. Turn around, we'll go through that one more time. So really push up against that. Good. So the goal would be to have him be able to do 8 steps where he's taking 8 steps to inhale and he'll take 8 steps to exhale. So afterwards, once he's able to perfect that, we would take him through breathing in motion in a loaded environment such as farmer's walks and farmer's carries. The next step would then be to have him breathe and brace properly with fundamental movement patterns such as a squat, a bench, a deadlift. And then ultimately, once he's able to perfect that, he'll be able to breathe and brace properly in a game, such as a rugby game or a pickup basketball game. So those are the fundamental breathing assessments that I would take him through before he would get himself underneath a bar or with weight in his hands when he goes through his bench, squat, and deadlift.